we sort of been not, I mean, my real job is design. So, right?
I don't know. I think you're doing a pretty good job at
That's how I feel.
this fake job. I think you're doing great.
Nice to meet you.
It's such a pleasure. I've heard so many incredible things. I listened to that podcast from that wonderful lighting designer in Australia, and that was so
Oh,
fun that you're exposing that world because that is such a big part of our world, obviously. And then I also wanted to say that I can't thank you enough for your organization because what it's done for Michelle, it's given her, this added resource, but more importantly, in items or in processes that she didn't have any experience in. It gave her the confidence to go back and say, nope, this is how we're going to do it. And so your platform is really, really important. And it's just great because from the outside looking in, I've seen what it's done. It's elevated her business. It's really remarkable. So thank you for all of your efforts because I know that your fake job is incredible. So
this is my side hustle, right?
yeah, your side
It's
hustle. So
hilarious. I
keep up with the side hustle. I mean, you're really affecting careers and lives, and tell me, and that's pretty special. So thank you for that. It's pretty awesome.
That's really nice of you. It's funny, but I do kind of feel like this is my calling. But I like that the interior design pays the bills. So I like having both.
Probably
Okay,
true. I don't know
well,
how you find time to do it all.
yeah, well, gosh, we all do the best we can, I guess. So, Michelle and Brandon, great to see you. Michelle, this is the third time we've attempted to record an episode together. An aborted attempt in Las Vegas because of weather and because of a crazy room that had a lot of noise. And last time the sound was terrible. So, third time lucky.
Third time's the charm. We got it.
Yeah. And we thought it'd be fun to invite Brandon because you guys are partners in parts of your business or all of your business. And we've had a couple of conversations recently about the importance of lighting. And you guys are looking at lighting from a different perspective where you're actually designing light fixtures. And how does that fit into your business as a whole? How did it get started and where are you going with the lighting design?
So it's really interesting. So I come from a background of development. So high end uh, multifamily resort development where we developed townhomes, world class ski areas, and so that's really where my world started. And then I had an opportunity. There was a little group in a little town called Heber City, Utah that was struggling, and a friend of mine, his brother was a fabricator at this little shop, and said, "Hey, these guys do incredible work. Would you consider using some of their work in your buildings?" I said, "Love to talk to them." So went down and saw what they did. These incredible artists, and they turned railings and they turned some light fixtures, from this sculpted art into this incredible work. But for what I was doing, it just didn't work because it didn't pencil out right. This was incredibly customizable stuff, and so I couldn't let it go. And the more I found out about this little business, I realized that they were on their way out, and these incredible artisans that were just right next door, they're all gonna. There's a really high chance that they would move on to some sort of an industry, different industry. We would lose what they created, and they'd built some pretty neat lights for some of the religious temples for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I saw those and thought, man, you guys are talented. We need to look at this differently. And so I approached them about buying it. It didn't pencil out buying it. So what I ended up doing is buying all the assets and then employing all their people and just starting a new company and saying, I think there's something about decorative lighting that we can do. And in the meantime, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Right. Michelle's in the background going, there's not enough custom stuff, not enough custom stuff. I'm like,
Well, can I
oh yeah,
interject
please.
real quick here? So he's asked me, like, what do you think about this? And I said, yes, please. Because I had just finished a Mountain Modern and had installed this beautiful light fixture from, I think, Restoration Hardware. And it was fantastic, but it was just too small. I couldn't find lighting at the right scale for the kinds of homes that I was designing. And so having someone who could do custom lighting, I was like, yes, please, can you start a lighting company? I would really appreciate your help with that. So we did. He did.
So, well, first of all, when you said that they designed these beautiful light fixtures for these temples, I see something in my mind's eye. I'm visualizing something really huge.
Yeah.
So, is that like, are you also designing homes, Michelle, then that are that scale where you have double height ceilings and just the standard light fixture is not going to cut it?
Yeah, the biggest fixture I've ever done was put in a room. What do you think the ceilings in that room were?
Close to 30 feet.
30 feet. The scale of the room, if you can imagine this, the fireplace, the gentleman said that he wanted it to feel like the fireplace in Grand Teton Lodge, like it just massive. The mantle has a Harley on it.
Full scale.
Full scale antique Harley is on the mantle.
Like one you can ride.
Yeah. You could, yeah. Yeah. And so how will you get a fixture for that room? So the fixture that we designed for that room is 10 feet tall and 5 feet wide.
Wow.
And that's the daddy one. And then the mama one is in the same space, but on the entry, and it was 8 by 5. And it's gotten it's become such an iconic piece for our business that actually it's become part of our logo now. And we've downsized it as part of our retail line. That's going to be.
I know this isn't the greatest way to do things, but
let me see. Oh, wow. First of all, the light is gorgeous, but I love that you have a human being in the picture so you can see the scale.
Yeah.
Not a very good looking human being, but we do have one in there.
So yes, that is the size that we would design for these temples and for some, I mean, we've done hotels and we do other massive scale buildings, but yeah, even homes in this area. I mean, in Utah, we have space still, we do big homes here.
Yeah, we do really big homes. And especially in selective areas, like, because we are in the Park City community, which everybody knows about Park City and those massive homes there. And then the community we live in is not too far from Park City, which again, your homes are up to 25,000 square feet, in this area. And so these are big, massive, expansive buildings that want to capture the Wasatch Mountains, which are 12 to 15,000 feet at the peak, and you can see this massive expanse, and people want to capture that, and you're not going to capture that in a 5-foot window. And so you have these real massive expansive ceilings. And so I looked at this, and being a little bit more artistically minded, something in me just clicked, saying, all right, it's probably the dumbest idea in the world to go for this, because I don't know anything about this, but it just felt right. So I went and put a little money together, and we ran with it. And I just do what I do, which is hustle and learned as quickly as I could. And very fortunately found a couple really good clients that liked what we were doing. And then it's grown from there. So I bet you we do probably 10 to 15 international projects a year that average about $500,000 in size, to great little custom homes here and there. And then that's kind of launched us into this new, we've had so many people come to us and say, how do you take this incredible fixture and put it in my home? How do you do that? And we're like, okay, well, we can scale that. So we started getting a lot of people that wanted to scale down. And so that led us to wanting to launch our own product to compete with some of those other people out there, which is what we're calling Santa Home. But that's kind of how we got started. And because of Michelle, and because of so much of the feedback she gave me early on, I realized that our clientele was the designer. It's the design firm. That's who I wanted to cater to for multiple reasons. One is they understood lighting, number one. They didn't get sticker shock, number two. Oh, well, that's bad. Everybody gets sticker shock in lighting, but less sticker shock. But the biggest thing is they understood the pain point, which I felt the two biggest pain points in decorative or in lighting is scale, right? Yeah. And timing. Mm-hmm. So everything, even stuff from, I won't say who their names are, but
Restoration Hardware.
Okay. great stuff.
And no beef with Restoration Hardware, but
Oh,
not everybody's house needs to look like that. Not every client
exactly.
needs to look exactly like that. I think
Yep.
there's room for them, and there's definitely room for you guys. And I love that your company was kind of born out of this desire to save these artisans and to save this beautiful local shop. And of course it's taken off and it's growing. That's incredible. That's amazing. And tell us the name again of the lighting, where we can
So
find the lighting.
it's Sienna Lighting, so CIANA Lighting, and that's siennalighting.com. And we're getting ready just to launch our brand new website May 1st.
Okay.
And so it's a total rebrand. It's beautiful. I'm so excited about it. It's just been several massive years of labor of love and design. One thing we did do, which I think is so important, is we wanted to absorb kind of these designers that have been so good to us early on. And so we went out to these few designers and collaborated with them. So really really what our focus is yeah, Sienna has a few designs, but we want to celebrate these designers that have been so good to us. And so we've actually gone out and worked with them, and we're bringing their visions to life. And that's what we're really excited about and we want to grow that. We would love to have more and more designers that we collaborate with, because they know their market. They know what their client's looking for. They know the price points. They know the materials. They know, because it's, Kimberly, better than anybody, that it's so different in different regions, and it's pretty cyclical too in some ways. So we're really excited about that. But and then what's neat about us is we've kept those jobs alive, but now we've grown to where we're manufacturing in I have a partner facility in Egypt. I have my own facility in the Philippines and one in China. And so it's pretty cool.
I love the designer collaborations. Michelle, you're going to get in on this? I want to hear about that. And I'm really glad that you didn't reach for those celebrity endorsements. It feels so disingenuous to me that Cindy Crawford has a line of lighting. No disrespect to her, she's a wonderful human being, but I know she's not spending her nights worried about the lumens in my project, right? Like, so I'm really appreciative that
Probably doesn't know what lumens are.
Right. So Michelle, what does that look like for you on your projects in designing your own lighting?
Well,
talk about Wally.
Well, I'd love to put custom lighting in every single project, because when it comes down to it, if you value engineer and you use the right kinds of materials, it's not that much more, per fixture than some of the higher end brands of lighting that are out there. And if I can also, I'm going to answer your question, but real quickly, we've had so many designers come to us because they can't keep using the same lighting companies over and over again. I had a designer call me one day and say, well, I need something custom because my client says she can't have all the light fixtures that I suggested because all her friends and neighbors have them.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure.
Everybody has it because it's when you're looking at lighting is a saturated market, but quality lighting, there's not a lot.
Right.
So being able to go custom, and now with Sienna Home, you can just buy high quality lighting that is beautiful and has a custom feel and custom quality, but it's also customizable. Mm-hmm. So what's so great for my clients and my contacts is that I can say, okay, well, I know it'll fit in this space. I had to learn. I mean, I had to teach myself, and our engineers were really patient with me, trying to help me learn all of the different things about how to design lighting, but it makes a huge difference. So at my new project that I'm working on, it's an entire development. I'm responsible for everything, basically. At this project.
How big are we talking about?
Well, it's 5,000 acres, and it's over 500,000 square feet of amenity buildings, plus 300 village homes that will all go through my design center, plus 200 more custom home lots that will have the choice to go with Wahali design or not.
Oh my gosh, that's massive.
It's massive.
Congratulations, FYI.
Well, but you had a big part of that, though.
Really?
Well, because I had all the systems in place.
Yeah, so what you taught.
Yeah, that's a side story that we could side story on. But
I know I have to hear that. What do you mean?
Well, a couple of years ago, I had taken about 6 to 8 months off of design projects, and I was project managing, which was awesome. a great thing to do. And then the other thing that I was doing was designing lighting for Sienna and helping with all of our custom projects coming in here. And I was trying to decide, I was feeling a real void because I love to design. And I was like, how do I want to take the rest of my career? Do I want to just keep project managing, which is great and lucrative, but it's boring? Or and lighting is great, but there's certainly wasn't enough of it to keep me completely busy. And so it was like, where do I take my firm? Do I want a firm? Do I want to keep being this, solo entrepreneur? What do I want to do? And I decided I wanted a firm, and I was going to grow a firm. And that's when I found Business of Design, and I did a rebrand, and I got a website for the first time, and I hired an assistant, and I started taking more classes, and that helped me have this firm in place. And that had only been in place, I don't know, maybe less than 6 months.
You learn the value of pricing and the value of,
well, contracts and systems and all of those things. And because I had learned, the thing that was so great about finding BOD was that your systems were so close to how I was already operating. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't much for me to
you didn't need convincing, you just need to tweak.
Right. And there was literally like 2 or 3 things that maybe you do slightly different than how I did. Like, for example, I don't usually do a trade day because 80% of what I do is new construction. Mm-hmm. So my trade day really doesn't look like having a bunch of trades come in. My trade day is emailing plans.
Yeah.
And saying, can you get me a bid? Mm-hmm. So like that was a little bit different, but it was so easy to adopt it. So then I had all the systems, all the contracts, everything ready to go, so that when this big job came, it was easy for me to say, yeah, I can do it.
Right. And it's convincing to them too. You look like a small player. You look like a player who could scale.
So my interview process was about 6-week process, and I had to do a full presentation of what I call a North Star, sort of a design board, but not really. I had to do that full presentation and show them how I would run the design center step by step. And it was easy to do because I had the BOD 15.
That is so cool.
We're side-storing so much. We're not staying on topics.
But I think it's important for your listeners to know that these are real testimonies. This is a real value, right? This is, if they just stick to it and be and work hard, right? But work smart. Processes are the key. You got to have processes. That's the only way we grew, is processes, right? And a philosophy, right? And so you build this culture, and that's what you're giving. You're giving a lot of people this opportunity to learn it quicker, if you will. Mm-hmm. All your pains and suffering are not so pain and suffering anymore when you have so many people that are able to utilize what you're teaching. So I think it's important so yes, we did side story. I'm great at side storying. Sorry, no more.
You bought a lighting company in the middle of a very busy job as a developer. So yeah, I get that you're good at side stories. Yes, I think I'll buy this company that's about to go bankrupt.
And that's all we do now. It's just lighting. So anyways.
That's just so cool. I want to ask, what is so hard for all of us to wrap our heads around when it comes to selling clients custom light fixtures? Like, why can't we get past that? I understand that you don't need a custom light fixture maybe in your daughter's bedroom and in the basement bathroom, but there are a couple places, your foyer, maybe your living room, your dining room, where a custom light fixture is going to be a piece of art and a sculpture. Why can't most of us wrap our heads around providing that to our clients? I wonder if it's because we don't know where to go.
I think that's a big one. I think that's the biggest one, because, for example, you'll have some companies out there that say they do custom, but really they don't. They're just customizing something. Mm-hmm. That's another thing. I think custom lighting is also it's really intimidating, because one is it's expensive. Two, I think when you don't really know what you want, and you don't have someone that can really guide that, I think that can be really frustrating. And then I think it's your model too. Like, so one thing we don't do is during the discovery process, we're not charging the client for the discovery process. And I think those that do, it's a disservice, because most clients really, that's why they hire designers, because they really don't know what they want. Mm-hmm. They go to the bathroom, they want this, and the kitchen, they want that. And and you're like, no, that all doesn't work. Right. And so I think that's a big one. And I think it's just education. One of the things we're trying to do is educate. We do a lot of lunch and learns. And one thing we talk about is exactly what you just talked about is we custom lighting is not designed for every fixture in the home. That's not what we're going for. We're going for that iconic piece. Is that iconic piece, like you just said, is that your dining room? Is that your entry? Is that your your antique clawfoot tub? What is that? And then let's focus on that. And then let's value engineer it. If everything we start with the highest materials you can find, the brasses, right? The Egyptian crystal that has taken over anything that Swarovski used to do. So this high, incredible stuff. But guess what? I did a project that wanted brass. At the end of the day, the budget wasn't there. So we did it in aluminum. We prototyped a powder coat that looked like brushed brass. And from 10 to 12 feet away, they had no idea it was aluminum.
Right.
Until they picked it up and it weighed nothing. And so, and at the end of the day, it wasn't everything they wanted to begin with, but it was everything they had hoped for at the end, because you're able to value engineer it. So we probably cut 35% off that project by just using different materials and getting creative, going from alabaster to resin alabaster or acrylic alabaster. Again, at 10 to 12 feet in the air,
right?
You're never going to know. And acrylic, you don't have to worry about it aging and breaking, and you can clean it. But so I think it's just education. You were going to say, sorry.
Well, I was going to say I found that it's a real opportunity for designers to level up their game, mm-hmm. to become even more so of value to their clients. So if you heard your client one day talking about how much she loved her grandmother's house, and her grandmother had this funny old crystal chandelier over her dining room table, guess what? If you could find a picture of it, we could remake it. Or I was in France we made a light fixture for a designer once that she took a picture of a light fixture in France in a cafe and said, can you build this for me? And we did. And now it's over her dining room table at home. So she feels like it brings that memory. It brings that feeling of I'm in France again. That was such a great trip. And so if you can listen to your clients and tune into those little bits, then mm-hmm. your lighting levels you up, and you can say, I know a guy. I've got a custom lighting builder that they can make anything that you want, even if it's small. It doesn't have to be just for grand homes,
right?
But even a small thing, a sconce in a bathroom, it's a unique situation. It can really help designers become really valuable. And then think about the referral process. When your client has a friend come over and they say, oh my gosh, that chandelier is beautiful. And then the client says, oh, you know what? It's custom. Our designer was so fantastic. She helped us design that. And and next thing you know, you've got another client because you were able to level up your design.
And then you take your last guest, right? You take your last guest, and they're great advocates of what we do, because they're so good at saying, for example, in this room we're sitting in, there's 6 cans, and we have this beautiful chandelier sitting over there. The truth is I don't like the cans on very often because it washes out the beautiful crystal. And so having a light designer come in and say, okay, those are going to be too harsh. We want to focus on this beautiful fixture. And then they're a huge resource too. And at the end of the day, when a client is just super happy, they forget about the extra couple $1,000s it cost them, or the extra $5,000 it cost them, right? They look at you and say, you are a miracle worker. And they sign that check so fast.
I want to ask you about the flip side of things, which is something that I have been experiencing recently, where people are presenting something to a client, a light fixture, let's say, and the client says, oh, I found the same light fixture for less money on Wayfair or on Home Depot. And I think a lot of us don't realize that they make a light fixture that looks like the one you proposed, but it's actually made of different materials. It might be made of plastic. There might be seams. we saw one designer send us a picture of the finished product, which was less expensive, and it was plastic instead of glass, and it had big seams in it. So the clients weren't happy with it. So it really is on us to be smarter about educating our clients and choose our battles. What's going to matter the most in that room? Is it going to be the end table, or is it going to be a light fixture? Probably light fixture.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the jewelry, right? It's the jewelry of the home, in my opinion.
And I think the other thing is, you ever heard in fashion they use that phrase cost per wear?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're designing a custom light fixture, you're talking about designing it's a lifetime choice.
Yeah.
You know, you're designing something that could be easily passed down to another generation, or is so specific to the home that it's always, if they ever sell the home, the next person is going to love it. It really is becoming something that cost over enjoying it every single day for the life of the home will end up being pennies.
Well, we have a good friend that we went and redid a bunch of. There are people that they lived in Versailles, right? So they understood. They just loved crystal, and the U.S. doesn't do a lot of crystal, unfortunately. You know, you get into Europe and you get into the Middle East, and there's a lot of crystal, which I love. But they had purchased this beautiful crystal fixture in Versailles and had it, and they probably had it for like 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then they transported it back when they moved from overseas back here, and they had it in their dining room, and it had kind of gotten beat up, and they thought that it was pretty much toast. And so we went and looked at it. I'm like, no, we'll just clean it up. And so literally all we did was take it apart, and just with warm water and a little bit of some good soap, just clean these things. And we replaced a little flute, and they put it in their brand new home. And she just welled up with tears, because this chandelier she bought 30 years ago was back. And she had so many fond memories of what it was, and it followed them all the way over. And that's another really neat thing, that she'll pass that on to her kids and grandkids. And that's when I realized, okay, what we're doing is we can really do some good. It's just we're not building throwaway stuff. And to your point, it is hard out there. And I think that's when education comes, because clients will look on Wayfair because they're great at marketing, and there's a reason why it's $200.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
And scale seems to be the biggest thing, right? They'll say, well, here's the same fixture, but you're looking at an 18-inch versus a 36-inch. And so, but anyways.
So I agree with you, Kimberly, that it's education, and it's part of our responsibility as designers to educate our clients. But that's part of the BOD 15, is we really have the opportunity to educate and set expectations, during your presentation. And we're here to help. I mean, if designers have questions about how to educate, or the words to use, the language to use, I mean, we're here to do that. Maybe we do a BOD live or something with the cute Australian lady, and we have we do a class, and we teach about how to do this.
That sounds amazing. It's kind of you can't learn enough when it comes to lighting, because it makes or breaks every project.
And it changes, and it's crazy how it changes, and there's so much to know. And I think from our perspective, one of the reasons why we'll do just about anything for a designer, especially a new designer, because we know it is intimidating, it's tough. So we'll help them with resources, we'll help them with drawings. We do one of our processes is we don't really use computers until we have to. So for example, during the engineering phase, obviously we use all of our engineering software, but everything else we do by hand. So all of our design assists, all of our drawings that we work with the client, we all do by hand. And the reason is that's fun, especially for designers, to see something in color that's artistic, and they can feel it and they can see it, and then they can take that to the client, versus we've all seen 2D drawings of stuff like a tear sheet, right? And we're like, I don't see it at all. I don't get what it is. And that's supposed to go in my beautiful living room. I don't get it. So these are the things that I think really help designers. I would say for designers, if I would I would get to know a custom, whether it's custom furniture, whether it's custom lighting. I would reach out to them, and if they're running their business right, they'll want to become a partner. They'll want to become a resource. They'll want to be there to educate and help. And the for me, the business is going to come. I may sit down with you once, and maybe we don't click, or maybe you don't see the value, whatever, but it's going to click, and I'm going to find, and we're both going to find the value in each other at some point where it's going to benefit us both. But I would say, on the designers, find those people, build relationships with them. They'll work with you. You don't have to just go in and just assume that you have to buy stuff right away. They want the work. They'll do what they need to do to try to get the work, but they'll also give you tools. And some of those tools are knowledge, right? Understanding, marketing stuff. They'll go on visits with you if they have to. They'll do Zooms, but use these resources. One of the things I always say is, I will never be the smartest guy in the room, never. And that's by design. I'm going to go out and find the smartest people I can, and I'm going to put them in the room. I'm going to put the smartest designers. I'm going to put the smartest electricians, engineers, artists. And guess what? Then we become the smartest firm in town. And that's what a designer needs to do as well, is go find these great resources. So here's kind of what Michelle's talking about.
What do you have there?
You're gonna have a hard time. This is one of our hand drawings.
Oh, see, now that helps me tell a story. That
Yes.
I love to show that to a client and say, there's a person who's got a family who did this drawing for you, and you know what I mean? All those things matter. But I do have to slow down and think about that when I'm pitching to my clients. It's my job to influence them. And so a tool like a beautiful drawing is going to help me do that. It's going to help me be smart about how I influence people.
Yeah, and it builds confidence, right? Because that now I've got a partner in furniture, or I got a partner in lighting that I can go to and say, hey, my client's got a crazy idea. What do you think?
Yeah.
Then I can say, oh, that is so cool. We got to do it. Or
I would do every single thing custom if I could. Every single solitary thing in the house I would do. I mean, it doesn't make sense for, an end table or whatever, but if give me a chance, I would do every single thing. Michelle, you started to talk about this massive project you have. Going to put a few light fixtures in there, huh?
Just a few. The first thing that we're doing are the entry as you pull into this, it's a exclusive golf resort community. So big gated and an entry, a gatehouse, and the posts that will hold the light fixture, I think, are 16 feet tall. So we had to design these giant lanterns, because the premise of the development is that you took a village out of Ireland, Scotland, or England, and you dropped it in the mountains outside of Park City and put it on a golf course. And so everything is a cottage, is like a premise of a stone cottage. Now we're updating it. We're making it fit our mountain surroundings, so they're not exactly English cottages, but that's our inspiration. And so I had to design lanterns that would look like they could belong in that. But then what was so helpful about Sienna doing them is that we were able to make them dark sky compliant, which is a huge aspect, and something we see so much is that is becoming really normal in developments and cities around the world right now, is the dark sky. And so now we've got a lantern that's 36 inches tall by 16, I think. And it looks like an English lantern, but it's dark sky.
That's incredible. One thing I love about talking to designers from different areas is you learn different requirements. Like I've never had to think about dark sky in any of my projects, but now I'm like, okay, that's an interesting concept. I wonder if that would ever come up in a client's backyard, or, in a smaller way. But educating, there's just never an end to all the things that we can learn and bring into our projects. What's the timeline on your big development? I mean, it must be years long.
Oh yeah, it's 12 to 15 year build out.
Wow.
So I literally never have to go find another job ever again.
But your first building's almost done, right?
Yeah, our first building's almost done.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's called our manor house. It's our golf teaching cabin. So the upstairs is the lounge area. There's an outdoor bar and restaurant seating area. There's 2 bays where people will be able to, in the wintertime, use golf simulators. and then have all the equipment to measure their swings. And then in the summertime, those doors fly wide open and they can hit directly from the inside of the manor house onto the driving range. And then the lower level is restrooms, kitchen, another lounge area, and a pub. I'm designing a pub.
Oh my gosh. I am just so excited for you guys. It seems like the sky's the limit. And I think we'd love to take you up on the BOD Live where we learn more about custom lighting and lighting in general. I think that's a smart idea. We like to end every episode with design intervention. Is there some bit of business advice you can think of in terms of it doesn't have to be related to anything we talked about today, but in terms of your partnership and what you've learned?
Well, I think we both probably have something we'd like to add because we're both chatty patties. It's so funny. My original recordings, my business design and my design intervention, I changed what I wanted to say. I've been thinking about lately about continuing to learn. And so I love what you just said a minute ago, like there's always something to learn. Yeah. Because I used to refer to myself as self-taught, but now I refer to myself as self-teaching because I'm always taking classes. I'm always trying to learn new things. Podcasts are great. There's online resources everywhere. I just signed up for another class with Create Academy, which is a British company. I'm on my 4th class with them. And I would say my biggest thing is I don't care how long you've been designing. There's always something to learn. Yeah. I even think there's something to learn from people who do a different design, different aesthetic than what you have.
Totally.
I recently just finished an online class on watercolor painting. I have no plans to take up watercolor painting, but listening to that woman speak about how she mixes colors together, I can use that in my practice. So my biggest design intervention is don't ever quit learning.
Yeah. Stay curious, right?
Yes. Yes. That was on your podcast yesterday. Stay curious. Was that yours?
It was?
Yeah.
Maybe
that was a different podcast I listened to.
That's hilarious. No,
it's Stay Curious. Someone literally, I heard that yesterday. Stay Curious. Yeah.
I wonder who that was. I can't remember. It sounds familiar. Yeah. But that's so cool. How about you, Brandon? Does something come to mind?
What's interesting is too many, but I think for your audience, because I have different ones for different audiences, but I think for your audience, it would be community in 2 different ways. So one is create a tribe or a community within your own environment. So if you do have a firm, hire people, not necessarily positions. I think so many times we'll hire to fill a position, and it just has never worked for me. To be honest with you, I've hired people that are good people that have the same values and the same energy. And they've always found a quote unquote seat on the bus, if you will. Mm-hmm. They may have started in the back, but they've ended up in the front or vice versa, but they found a very comfortable seat. So creating a good culture or a good tribe internally, but externally, back to what we were talking about just a moment ago, you don't have to have a firm. You can be just starting out. And I think you talked about it with your last podcast. I think the gal from Australia said, fake it till you make it. And that's fun because we all use that to some degree. But even if you're brand new, if you surround yourself or create a community or create a tribe. So again, an architect, finish carpenter, a painter, a lighting designer, a custom furniture guy, custom lighting guy. You build this core group that costs you nothing but some time and some effort. And you start to develop those relationships like you would a bank account. You put effort into those relationships. You help them. You do things with them. You build that however your personality works. And then you're able to, you make these deposits, and you're able to withdraw from that at time. But that you build this nucleus, this core around you, that you've always got someone to protect you and someone to help you and someone to buoy you up. Because I would say between the 3 of us, we've probably ventured out and done something on our own with maybe not a lot of support to begin. And that is horrible. That is so hard. You come home drained. I would say add a CFO. You can hire these groups that you can pay them by the hour to do your payroll, to do you can hire a CEO. Even here is kind of big as we've gotten. I have an outsourced CFO that just comes in and works with my CFO, because I want a different perspective when we're looking at things.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so powerful. And so I would say build a community, build a tribe, and maybe a realtor's in there. I don't know, but build this little group, and that will give you the support rather than doing it alone. I'm afraid too many of your listeners try and go at it alone.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, it's going to be a really long and lonely road.
Yeah.
Kimberly calls that the 18.
Oh,
that's
exactly. Yeah. And the thing is, yeah, a lot of the listeners are quote unquote on their own, but what you said, Brandon, is so true. If you have a custom cabinet maker, if you have a custom lighting designer, if you have a painter, if you have an electrician, you're not alone anymore. You're just not. So
it doesn't
about
cost you
changing our
anything to get those
mindset.
guys.
Yeah.
It just costs a little time and effort. That's it. So that's what I would say, because we all need support.
If I can double down on that really quick, that's how I'm doing my job right now at Holly without a team yet. I mean, eventually we'll have 5 or 6 designers on that whole project, but I've been having my A team work for me. I've been calling them and saying, hey guys, I need you to bring to me a whole bunch of choices because I don't have time to search there. And they're working for me now, and it doesn't cost me anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't it great? Well done, you guys. I'm super excited to follow your stratospheric rise to the top. And we'll put a link to your website, which will be live when this airs. We'll put a link in the show notes and information, and love to stay on top of your project, Michelle. So send us pictures when it's done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. You're such a gem. You're so great. Appreciate your energy, and this was a lot of fun.
So great to meet you guys. I got to get to Utah. I've been to Utah forever.
Oh yeah,
I told you that last time we recorded. We could do a great trip out here. I can get this into a lot of good homes, and we could do a lot of learning stuff.
I love touring homes. It's like my favorite thing to do. Like, you just learn so much. Every time I go away from a great home, I'm like, I'm doing that in my next project, or you know what I mean? Like, just so good. All right, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you. See you later.
Ciao.